Hello and welcome to a beautiful day on the farm. It's hot, it's humid, but there's a nice cool breeze. But as you might have realised, not everything on the farm is quite as bright. Starting a new farm business at any time is hard, and this is year one and it has been particularly challenging. We currently have a drought in Suffolk and we have had the least amount of rain in July, for example, since records began in 1876. And it means that the majority of my time is spent trying to keep things alive. Not the animals necessarily, because I can food and water them, but the plants are just shriveling up and dying at every turn. In addition, the state of the world means that prices are skyrocketing for feed, for energy, for supplies, and we're just getting to the point now where we're going to have to start making some really hard decisions about the animals that stay and the animals that go. And for those of you wondering about the flower farm and market farm garden, we'll take a look at that too. And yes, this really is how I'm currently getting all my water at the farm, which is insane. One thing that has skyrocketed is the price of chicken feed, and it means that actually I've had to do quite a major cull on my chickens. You know, I don't have the heart often to kill older birds and that aren't productive anymore and aren't laying eggs, or to kill excess cockerels. Sometimes I just like to let them all grow on. But in the past week I have had to be pretty brutal, and I've killed all of my excess cockerels, some of which I've had for years. I just can't afford to keep them around when they have no productivity, and even with the older hens, when they're not laying eggs, they're not making money. And so I've had to be quite brutal. I still do have some to do. I've got a couple more young cockerels from this year to do, and a couple of ducks that have been hatched out and aren't pure. The only positive is they all go to the ferrets, so nothing gets wasted. Along with the pasture chickens, I also have several groups of small breeding bantams and chickens that I breed for hatching eggs. But even here, for example, I have too many. In this coop I've got 9, but actually only 4 are true Barber Danvers. The rest are a silky mix that when they hatched out they had extra toes. Until now I've kept them around because they're sweet, but again, their time may be done. I've currently got the lambs in this smaller handling system because when they were out in the field on electric wire, they became feral. So I brought them in, and this was so I could vaccinate them, but also so I could kind of sort out who I'm going to keep and who's being sold. As you can see, they have become a lot tamer and less running away, but one of the, I suppose, victims of this downsizing is Macduff. Now Macduff is one of our rejected lambs, and he's a lovely, lovely boy, but I can't really find a use for him to stay around on the farm. So I'm selling 4 ewe lambs, 4 of the ewe Jacob lambs. Then I have 2 Norfolk Horn lambs, one of which I've left entirely. He's going to be a tup in the future, so that is a male breeding ram. The other one is going to go for meat, and unfortunately now Macduff is also going to go for meat. And it's hard because when you think about it, just 1 sheep added to your flock isn't going to really take a lot out. But 1 or 2 sheep every year from your favourites quickly adds up. With the drought, I'm actually having to supplement feed them in August, which is mad. And then you have the logistics of what to do with your extra lambs and pet lambs when it comes to tupping and breeding and sort of separating everybody out. And then again in the winter, when you're having to additional feed very quickly 1 or 2 pet lambs each year adds up, and suddenly you have loads of pet lambs which actually are no real use on the farm. And I'll be honest, although the OGs, the originals to the farm, are not on the chopping block when it comes to sheep, I'm afraid I am even starting to teeter on the 5 wethers that I rescued. I do like them, but they escape a lot, they trash things a lot. I mean, the reason this fencing is all broken down around the chickens is because they broke out this morning and they got in there. And if they're not free roaming, which is when they come out and break a lot of stuff, they have to be shut away, which means I then have to feed them, which at the moment with feed costs skyrocketing, is just also making them a bit of a burden on the finances. So I haven't made a decision about them yet. I'm teetering, I'm on the edge. I'm hoping that they can stay. One sheep who is not being rehomed is Dora. I was going to sell her, but she has become such a delight just popping around the farm that we're going to keep her. She even now has her own Instagram. It's Little Miss Dora Lamb. I'll put the link in the description below. You can see how dry it is. I mean, this is a ditch, but last year it ran all through the, look, there's a piece of rubbish there. It ran all through the winter and up till about July. This year it's not run at all. And I planted it all with hostas because I thought, oh, it runs so nice with water. It will look really nice with hostas grown along here, but there's just nothing. There's no water. And it's not just the farm animals that are on the chopping block. Even Sard is now considering rehoming some of his birds of prey, because where we had there was bizarrely a CO2 deficiency over here, which meant they couldn't gas baby chicks, and baby chicks are what his birds of prey eat. So as a result, there was a blockage on chicks and they were hard to get to. Now they're back flowing again, but the price of the chicks doesn't seem to have come back down after it went up. So it's actually quite expensive to feed all of these birds. And they go through between 22 and 25 chicks a day between them all. So at the moment, he's kind of going through the process of working out which birds to keep and which to rehome. We're probably looking at rehoming 3 or 4. I don't want you to think it's all doom and gloom though. It's part of farming, and you have to make these tough decisions because you can't just keep every single animal. You know, otherwise I'd be a rescue centre. I'm not, I'm a farm. But there's lots on the way. You know, we have got this horrible drought, which is, I mean, this was supposed to be a pumpkin patch. I put in 300 plants and there's probably only 50 left because I just can't water them all, can't keep up with the water demands. But we also have Margaret and Hyacinth. They're not going anywhere. Hello. And in fact, we're looking for a boar at the moment, so we're going to have piglets at the beginning of next year, so that'll be nice. Eva's pregnant, obviously, so we're looking at having some kids coming soon. We've still got all the OG sheep, and we now got 13 ewes, which means we'll be lambing those in April. I think we'll do another April lambing because it's a bit warmer then. So there's lots to look forward to, so don't think it's all doom and gloom, but it's the tough side. It's the side of actually sitting down and going, actually, we're farming and we need to make a living. I don't even want to become rich. I just want to make a living. And if we have all these animals that are eating all this feed but not actually producing anything of financial value back, they have to go. So I know, and I'm not making the decisions all at once either because it's too much. So I'm kind of I've been going through the chickens gradually, and I'm not making a decision about the wethers yet. And we'll see how it goes from here. Whilst I might be trying to downsize on the animals, I'm definitely trying to upsize on the vegetables and the flowers. I'm definitely way behind, and I'm definitely not where I should be because the heat. and the drought. And it has got to me mentally as well, and it's taken quite a lot to get over it, which means I'm even further behind because I've just been sort of not wanting to do anything. However, I'm trying to turn that around, and so I have started sowing. It's only August, so there's plenty of time to sow. So I found a load of old seed packets of old flower seeds the other day, so I threw them in. So I've got some cosmos, zinnia, calendula, sunflowers. I'm going to see if any of those sprout. I've got a second succession of cornflowers coming through, and I'm also starting some autumn vegetables, so chard, kale, spinach. You can still do radishes because they're quick to mature. And though the flower farm and the garden looks pretty dead, and I think that's also what's kind of affecting my mental health, because you come here and it looks a mess and it looks dead and there's nothing growing. There is actually quite a lot. So I've left this patch of wild carrot, and I use a lot of this in the bouquets, as I've said before. Down here we've got some lovely little snapdragons, and again, it's a tiny patch, but they're providing me enough for market. Currently I'm actually only going to 3 markets a month, so I don't need to be producing hundreds of bouquets of flowers. I only need, 50 or so per month. So this is by far enough at the moment. So I have my snapdragons. I've been watering my lovely little sweet peas like crazy, and they're finally starting to actually do something. I've got, again, a small patch of zinnias. They're way behind, but they're coming. They're starting to come through, and I'm starting to pick off these shorter blooms and then get these longer flowers coming up. The cosmos patch, again, is coming on slowly, and I should say that everything is patchy because I have lost so many plants through to drought. But they're coming. I've got some statice over here, a small little patch of statice. And again, I use these tiny short stems for little jam jar posies, and then the longer ones, they are starting to come through. My cornflowers are almost done, which is why I've put another succession in. And I have come along and chopped them all off here, and I'm watering them like crazy in the hope that actually they send out some buds. We don't know. They might do. The dahlia patch, again, has really suffered in the heat. Don't like it at all. This is Carthamus Nemo, I think. It's fabulous. I love it. It just turns the flower like this, but these also look amazing in bouquets, just as the seed head. So I'll cut like this stem, and then you've got one open, and then some pods for the bouquet, which is great. My straw flower patch is pretty non-existent. I've got 4 plants and 1 bud coming, and then a few tiny plants which I'm desperately trying to keep watered so that they don't shrivel away. And the same has to be said for my beautiful amaranth patch, which is not beautiful at all. Look at it. They are just suffering so badly, but I'm watering them twice a day in the hopes that something happens. Over here we've got some achillea, again really short stemmed, again because of the drought, but it's enough for me. It's enough for me this year, so I'm not stressing too much. In the market garden, I've got a very few kale that have survived. I've got a nice row of chard, some of it which is coming up lovely actually. I love this pink stemmed variety. The lettuces are completely washed out, but I have more lettuces growing. We've got courgettes, so we've got some nice stripy ones, if there are any. I did pick them the other day actually. Got some nice stripy ones. We've got some lovely little yellow ones coming on, and then we've got some of your more standard ones, so they're doing well. The carrots, I haven't even had a chance because the ground is so dry. I haven't had a chance to dig them up and see the quality, but we do have a row of carrots, and then we still have a lot of onions and a lot of garlic to take up. Again, I'm having difficulties getting them out of the ground because the ground is so hard that I'm trying to pull the root up, pull the bulb up, and it's snapping. So I know that I need to get them out, but it's just, some of them are a good size. I mean, that's tiny. Some of them are a decent size, but it's really hard to get. Oh, actually that's not the greatest bulb in the world, but again, really affected by heat. We've got to get all the onions up as well. You can see the onions kind of ready to come out. And then in the polytunnel, we're starting to get some tomatoes and some peppers. I also went to a new market the other day, and unfortunately at this market, it's right next to the Suffolk Food Hall, which means I cannot sell food at the market because it obviously competes with what's on offer at the site. However, I went anyway, and I took flowers, and I also took a variety of other farm stuff. So I took some bags of wool, I took some feathers that I've ethically sourced, so they're basically feathers that have been dropped by our chickens, ducks, pheasants and owls that have gone along and collected. I took some lavender, and then I took some teasels and crafting supplies. And actually it was quite a good market, and it just shows that actually if I don't have food to take, as long as I've got flowers and some sort of farm crafting supplies, I can still make a decent number of sales. So though sometimes on first glance it all looks like it's failing and the heat has really affected everything and we're having to downsize on a few animals, but actually there's a lot going on and there's a lot of positives to take away. So I'm just gonna roll with that. You know, it has to rain at some point, and until it does, I will just keep watering, keep growing, and just keep trying to put a smile on my face.